Hello and welcome back to the shop, and welcome back to another vehicle repair video. Now today we're going to fit a new alternator to this 2012 Fiat Punto EVO. Will we fail or will we succeed? Stay tuned to find out. Okay, so now I've just had to jump start this car because the battery's flat, and we're going to put a multimeter on just to check what the alternator's pushing out. 9 and a bit, and it should really be pushing out about 14 volts, so 9 volts is not good enough at all, so we're going to have to change this alternator on here. Now let's think safety first and disconnect the battery before we actually start any work on this car. So here we are then, Fiat's famous 1.2 litre fuel injected engine, and this is the one with the start-stop mechanism attached. Now the position of the alternator is situated beneath the air conditioning pump, and in the centre of our screen there is the air conditioning pump. So the alternator sits underneath, and we can just about see the alternator. We'll try and get a closer view of the alternator. We'll try and put that on the screen now. There it is, that's the pulley for the alternator. Now what I suggest that you do is, after disconnecting the battery, is to put the car up onto axle stands, which I shall do in a moment. Then you need to somehow undo the top bolt to the alternator, and that sits directly beneath this air conditioning pump, and it is very, very difficult to get to. In fact, it's a real pain to actually get to that one bolt. But I shall try and show you the bolt on camera in a moment. But like I was saying, it's one hell of a job to remove that one bolt, but after you removed it, the rest of the job is fairly straightforward. But I shouldn't try and remove anything else until you actually tried to undo that bolt. Now once you have managed to undo that one bolt, then of course the next step is to remove the belt, and there's a preloaded tensioner down there. All you need is a long bar or something just to push that tensioner forward a little bit, and then the belt will easily come off. Now if you can't undo the top bolt, then I'm afraid all that's left for you to do is to actually take your car to a garage and get them to actually do the job. But it really is a pig of a job to just get that one bolt undone. But we're going to give it a go. We're going to see if we can undo that bolt and then change the alternator. Okay, now one of my friends suggested that I use a wrench like this with a nice 13mm socket on the end of this long thin reach that I've got, and you should be able to get it round the back and then onto the bolt, but unfortunately that does not work for me. I can't do that. The only way that I can see how to do this is to actually get underneath the car and then try and attack that top bolt with a 13mm ring spanner. Another alternative, of course, is to try and remove the air conditioning pump, but looking at it, I think there would be far too much work involved. Right, I shall get some axle stands now, and we'll jack the car up and have a look underneath. Okay, so here we are, the car is now up on axle stands, and we have to think safety here. We don't want the car to fall on top of us. Right, so here we are. There is the alternator. and we can see the two bottom bolts to the alternator. But up through there is the top bolt, which you can't see at the moment. I shall show you that in a moment if I can get a camera up there to show you. And it's quite hard for me to get my hands round here so I can try and show you things, as there's not enough room to move. Right, so there we are. There is the top bolt. Now it doesn't face upwards like it does on the video, it's just I can't get my camera in at the right angle, but I shall put a picture on which way it does face. It faces horizontal, not vertical like it does on the video. Like I said, there's just not enough room down here for me to get my camera in the right position, and it is very, very difficult to get to, like I said. And it looks like the only way to access it is to put a ring spanner on it, which we shall do in a moment. Now I'm going to be using a very thin ring spanner. I don't know if you can see that or not. There it is, the ring spanner I'm going to be using. I've got a few others that are a little bit bigger than that as well. Like I said, that's 13 millimeters. Hopefully we can get it into place and get that top bolt loosened off. So let's see if we can get it onto the top bolt. So there we are, it's on the top bolt now. And as you can see, there's not much room to move, but there's enough room to put the spanner into position, move it a little bit, then take the spanner back off, then put it back on again and move it a little bit, and so on and so forth. So it's going to take a little bit of time, but it looks like I'm going to be able to remove this top bolt, which is great. So once I've done this, I'll be able to remove the rest of the bolts. But it's going to take me a little bit of time to actually do this. As you can imagine, there's very little room here to do this. Okay, put the camera back on it again, and you can see that I have loosened it off and we've moved it up a little bit. It's taken me about half an hour so far to get it to that position, but it is coming out very, very slowly. So another 10 minutes, 20 minutes at the most, should have this top bolt off, and then we can carry on with removing the rest and get this alternator off here. So there you have it. You can see I've now removed the top bolt, and to tell you the truth, it's actually taken me about an hour to remove that top bolt, but at least now I can start removing all the other stuff, which is all basically straightforward now. So I've still got to remove a small bolt that attaches to the side of the engine, to the right hand side of the alternator, the two bottom bolts I've got to undo, and of course remove the plus and the minus cables. But first I'm going to remove the belt. So we're out from underneath the car, and there is the offending article, the top bolt for you all to see. Like I said, it's taken me about an hour to remove that. So let's have a look at this belt. So it's on a pre-loaded belt tensioner. Now what you need is a long bar. All you need to do is just push that belt tensioner forward, and that will release the tension on the belt, and then you should be able to slip the belt off easily. Okay, so we've now removed the alternator belt and we're back underneath the car again. Now the next thing we need to do is to remove a small 10mm bolt that's holding on one of the air conditioning pipes, and this is located to the right hand side of the alternator. I shall put a small mark whereabouts it is. Now you may have to remove the wheel on the right hand side of the car so you can easily get to that bolt. And then when you remove that, then you need to remove the two bottom bolts holding the alternator in place. And of course there's the plus and the negative cables. They also need to be disconnected from the alternator. There's the red wire there. I think they're held on by 13mm nuts. And when you've done all that, then the next stage is of course to try and manhandle the alternator from the side of the engine, squeezing it between the air conditioning pipes, and there are several of them. Okay, I've undone the two bottom bolts and the bolt to the side. All I've left to do now is just to undo the plus and the minus cables and somehow maneuver the alternator around all these pipes. Okay, so these series of photographs that you're seeing now, I'm trying to manhandle the alternator out from underneath the car. But with the oil pipes and the air conditioning pipes in the way, it's like trying to push a square peg through a round hole. Now I'm having to take photographs because I can't hold a video camera and try and remove this alternator at the same time. Okay, here we are then. We've managed to do it. And there's our old alternator. And it really was a lot of messing about to get that out. So here's our brand new one, and of course to put that back is exactly the reverse of taking it out. Now I really am not looking forward to tightening up that top bolt again, as you can only move it a few millimeters at a time. But I tell you what, at least I've saved myself plenty of money doing this job myself. Right, so there we are. It's now back into place again. And to get that top bolt back really was a lot of problems. So it took me an hour to get that top bolt out, and it's taken me another hour to put that top bolt back in again. There is just so little room to actually maneuver. But we've managed it. And we've tightened everything back up again now. I should say from start to finish it's probably taken me about 3 hours to do this job. But most of that time was of course undoing that top bolt. Now if anyone out there knows of a simpler way of getting to that top bolt, then please put it in the comments below. I'd love to hear other people's attempts at doing this. Right, I've put the belt back, Now, my apologies for not taking a video of doing that. I can't hold the video camera and put the belt on at the same time. So right, we shall now connect the battery up and see what's happened. I will probably have to jump start the car again. Right, so engine's running. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to test it. Should be around 14 volts. So that's it's running at 14 volts, 14 point something. There's a few digits missing off my multimeter, but that's about where it should be. So that's good. Then we put a new alternator in. The car's now running fine. So that's brilliant. Job well done, but has taken me quite a bit of time to get this alternator in. It's such a real pain to get to that top bolt, and then of course, because this car's got air conditioning, there's all the air conditioning pipes everywhere, and so to try and manhandle that alternator round those pipes is a real pain in the arse. It really is, but we've done it. So anyway, there you go. Thank you all so very, very much for watching, and I hope this video has helped someone along the way anyway. So until the next video, I shall see you all soon.